In a pastel-colored bedroom set, a young girl with big eyes and heavy makeup dances with her smiling mother. At first glance, the TikTok duo known as Bebop and Bebe seems like just another quirky family act. But behind this laughing duo lies a swirling storm of internet rumors, wild conspiracy theories, and a crime that has almost cost them their life.
Where do you get off on making that video? Like, you not only made the video, but included your daughter in your racism. And really, you are fighting for your life right now in these comments.
Over the past few years, this mother-daughter pair has unwittingly, or perhaps intentionally, become the center of one of TikTok's most bizarre mysteries, sparking debates about possible kidnapping, secret signals, hidden identities, and something that's still not uncovered. Today we're getting into this strange story of Bebop and Bebe, a truth-blending social media fame with dark speculation, to separate verified facts from the far-fetched theories. Bebop and Bebe are a mother-daughter duo from Georgia, USA, who took TikTok by storm with cheerful videos of dancing, lip-syncing, and dress-up. Their TikTok account, @BebopandBebe, amassed an astonishing following in a short time. By late 2022, they had nearly 5 million followers, and their cutesy content had racked up over 1.6 billion views. By early 2023, as their fame grew, that follower count reportedly swelled past 7 million, and videos were drawing tens of millions of views each. Their account currently has around 9 million followers, a number that keeps climbing. In their clips, Bebop is the young girl who often wears elaborate outfits, wigs, or hair accessories, and even makeup far beyond her years, while Bebe is the mother figure by her side. Now, Bebop is cute, sophisticated, and very energetic in those videos, which is why a lot of the comments are about people complimenting her or lusting over her. Either way, it gets way more disturbing from this point on. Together, they perform choreographed dances, comedy skits, and cosplay routines set to trending sounds. The visuals are bright, bubbly, and seemingly wholesome. A pink and purple childhood dreamland backdrop, stuffed animals on the shelves, and matching mother-daughter smiles.
What did you do to my eyebrows?
I'll fix those. Which eyebrow do you like?
None.
You gotta pick one.
This one.
Okay. It does work.
On the surface, it looked like harmless fun, a family-friendly variety show in 15-second bites. Yet even from the beginning, some viewers felt there was something off about Bebop and Bebe's videos. The duo virtually never left their one small room on camera. The child, Bebop, often wore mature makeup like false lashes, contour, lipstick, and accessories like chokers and pageant gowns that struck some as inappropriately adult for her age. In a lot of those videos, it almost seemed like they were made to do these things, and their heart is really not in it. Bebop's energy dropped in some videos, while in others, she was happy and smiling. People were noticing these inconsistencies, and another huge part of it was that she never filmed when she was outside. It was as if she was just stuck in one room. Any other creator you take at least has one video outside the confines of their room. But that's not the case with Bebop, because she was never really seen outside of her room. It almost felt like she was stuck in one place. People started commenting about it, raising questions of why Bebop never films outside. And even then, the mother-daughter duo never responded to these questions. They kept laying low, and hardly ever interacted with people in their comments. Bebe, the mom, always remained close, guiding or babying her daughter through each performance. Comments began flooding in, asking the pair basic questions. What are your real names? How old is the little girl? Why are you always filming in the same room? But they never responded to these questions either. People started having suspicions that Bebe's mother is making her do all of this, and she doesn't really want to do it herself. The way they kept their identities a secret and never even revealed their real names only made things worse, because now people had something to be suspicious about. As their follower count exploded, so did the concerns. Was this just an eccentric stage mom and her talented kid? Or was there something more troubling going on behind the scenes? The rise of Bebop and Bebe was sudden, unexpected, and not entirely organic. Sure, their colorful videos had appeal, especially to young audiences who love cosplay and dance. However, a significant boost in their popularity came from the TikTok algorithm, because hundreds of people were commenting on their quirky behavior, giving a push to their content. And by not answering any of these queries, Bebop and Bebe were only adding fuel to the fire. Beginning around mid-2021, viewers started obsessively sharing Bebop and Bebe videos with captions like, "Is this girl in danger?" and "Something isn't right here." People would freeze-frame clips, zoom into backgrounds, and hunt for clues of distress. This mess of engagement, likes, shares, duets, stitches, ironically made the duo's content go even more viral, popping up on countless users' For You pages. This content was being pushed solely because a lot of people found it disturbing and were calling for the authorities to run a background check on Bebop's mother or see if both of them are in some danger. According to analytics, each of their new videos routinely went mega viral, reaching far outside their follower base. In one 30-day span, they gained over 900,000 new followers in the middle of the conspiracy chatter. Put simply, the more people speculated about Bebop and Bebe, the more the TikTok algorithm amplified their presence. It was a self-perpetuating cycle. Curiosity bred views. Views bred organic promotion, which bred even more curiosity. Very quickly, Bebop and Bebe weren't just TikTok stars. They were an internet phenomenon. Although one shrouded in a mystery no one knew anything about. People thought after going so viral, the girl would at least say something to her fans, but she kept making the same kind of videos, acting almost like she didn't read the thousands of comments asking her about her real identity and if she was actually safe. Behind the scenes, the family seemed to take advantage of this sudden boom on their socials. In July 2021, around the time their TikTok was taking off, an entity called Bebop Bardo LLC was quietly registered in Georgia. Bebop Bardo appears to be a stage name variant for the young girl. The company's listed purpose was under musical groups and artists, hinting that the family treated their TikTok activity as a professional entertainment venture from the start. Once again, people started speculating that the mother was only using her daughter for monetary reasons and is trying to get more money by making her do more work. There were comments also pointing out that the girl didn't want to do all this, while no one actually knew what was really going on with them. Clearly, Bebop's mother was not just a casual mom with a camera. She was positioning her daughter as a budding star. Although her way of turning her daughter into a star was somewhat unusual. She wasn't taking her to casting directors or making her audition. Instead, she made her daughter make these grown-up videos that made her look older than a teenager. Bebop started doing child beauty pageants, taking home titles like Miss Candy Kiss 2021 and Miss Rodeo Diva, according to pageant forums. She also began vocal training with a professional coach, and by age 8 or 9, had even recorded original songs released on streaming platforms. In other words, while TikTok at large speculated this child might be a prisoner, her family was busy turning her into a polished performer tailor-made for showbiz career. Now just think about it for a second. This little kid who has barely seen the world is making dozens of videos a day, getting singing classes, and even practicing for her pageants. This is the kind of kid who definitely have no time for herself or to even think about what she really wants in life. And that's what people thought, that she's not the one who wants all this fame. It's her mother who's actually using her to get it. These claims made some sense because her mother never really left her alone in any of those videos. She was always beside her. This contrast between this sunny, aspirational showbiz side and the dark kidnapping narrative is what makes the Bebop and Bebe story so confusing and so perfect for internet obsession. The first red flags that something might be wrong in Bebop and Bebe's world came from eagle-eyed fans convinced the pair were sending secret distress signals through their videos. It sounds like the plot of a horror movie. A captive victim forced to create cheerful content, but slipping coded pleas for rescue to the audience. In mid-2022, Bebop and Bebe's TikTok comment sections were overwhelmed with viewers role-playing as rescuers. They left instructions like, "Wear orange and white in your next video if you're in danger," or, "If someone is forcing you, blink twice and touch your hair."
Like, wear blue if you need help, whatever. They've been putting it on the videos ever since the allegations started, but, you know, somebody said, put watermelon if you need help. Pretty innocent, right? Pretty random at that. Well, look at this last video that they just posted.
Down by the bay, where the watermelon raw.
Now, in the beginning, this was just harmless fun. People trying to make a bigger deal out of nothing. And it seems like Bebe and Bebop would never respond to this. But in a surprising turn of events, they were actually responding to a lot of those signals. If someone asked her to wear an orange shirt in the next video if she's in danger, Bebop wore an orange shirt. And this just made things 1,000 times worse, because now people were sure there was something sinister happening to them behind the scenes. On one TikTok live broadcast, observers recount that users spammed the chat with, "Run your fingers through your hair if you need help." The young girl on camera complied, calmly stroking her platinum blonde hair while continuing to chat innocently. This literally set the internet on fire. People started pointing out that this is not a coincidence, and this girl is actually asking for help. But there was no way to reach them or confirm, because Bebe and Bebop keep their real identity under very tight wraps. Some people said that this looks like such a huge red flag only because the kid is doing what her mother is asking her to. But in some of those instances, even the mother looked like she's being forced to do this too. Other surfaced clues were less subtle. In one short clip, later infamous among Bebop and Bebe conspiracy theorists, the mother and daughter are dancing when suddenly a hand appears from off-screen, passing the little girl a toothbrush and toothpaste through a crack in a door. The girl dutifully takes the items and the video ends. To the average TikTok scroller, it might seem like a random skit, but in the context of the "they're being held captive" narrative, this clip was chilling. Commenters breathlessly pointed out that if Bebop were a prisoner, being handed toiletries through a barely open door is exactly how one would receive the bare necessities in captivity.
Thank you, Stally. And I like tight jeans that stretch. So, let's see. I didn't make this as round as it's supposed to be, but that's fine. I guess that's just the way it is. Am I emo today? Yes.
True or not, scenes like this began to build a compelling lore around the account. Every new upload was scrutinized. Was there someone's shadow in the mirror? Why did Bebop glance off camera with a fearful expression? Is that a lock on the outside of the bedroom door? Also, if there was a third person handing them those things, why was he never seen in the videos? These are some of the questions that basically flooded Bebop's comments section, as people kept increasingly worrying about their well-being. Some people were also worried that the man might harm them if they realized that the people in the comments surrounded them. So this went from innocent videos to kidnapping mystery in no time. But this was only the beginning, because all of those conspiracy theories were about to be turned into reality. No aspect of Bebop and Bebe's content was too small to be decoded by concerned fans. The color of their clothes became a messaging system. One viral TikTok theory asserted that Bebop and Bebe followed a color code to indicate their level of danger. For example, red might mean we're in immediate danger, blue might mean we're okay, and so on. And the funny thing was, these specific colors were different in varied posts. So no one seemed to agree what these colors actually meant. But one thing was pretty clear, that red meant they were in danger. So if Bebop wore a red bow in her hair one day, the comments would explode. "She's signaling for help with red. Call the police." Then if the next video showed her in a calm blue dress, others would counter, "No, now she's in blue. Maybe that was a false alarm." This might sound far-fetched, but it got to the point that every outfit choice was seen as a possible code. One commenter famously wrote, "If you're really reading these, wear yellow in the next video." Lo and behold, the duo's next skit featured bright yellow props. To believers, this was essentially a hostage blinking Morse code into the camera. To skeptics, it was an adult who was a little too good at social media and was playing along to juice engagement. After all, what better way to keep an audience hooked than to give them what they're looking for? Breadcrumbs were being dropped, intentionally or not, and the internet was gobbling them up. It wasn't just colors either. Bebop and Bebe even performed a well-known hand gesture for help in some videos. A gesture where you tuck your thumb into your palm and close your fingers over it. A signal developed by domestic abuse advocacy groups. At this point, people had started to realize that something was up, and they were either doing this intentionally just to get more views, or they were actually in danger. This hand signal had been shared widely online as a way for someone in danger to wordlessly ask for help. So when Bebop flashed it fleetingly on TikTok, armchair detectives lost their minds. Was the kidnapper forcing them to make these videos? And were they desperately signaling to viewers for a rescue? Each quirky gesture or prop became part of the Bebop and Bebe mythology. Their comment sections turned into crowdsourced surveillance forums, with users comparing notes on what each sign could mean. To an outsider, it may have looked like mass hysteria, and some critics indeed called it a hysterical overinterpretation. But to a growing segment of TikTok, the clues felt very real. And they actually were real, because it seemed like Bebe and Bebop were intentionally dropping these clues. Millions of people were emotionally invested in saving a child they believed to be in pain and danger behind the camera. The hashtags Save Bebop and Bebe and Bebop and Bebe began trending, echoing earlier viral rescue campaigns like the famous Save Marina Joyce incident in 2016, when the internet falsely convinced itself a YouTuber was kidnapped. So it could have quite easily been a hoax, but the users were trying to turn it into something more than that. But it felt like even Bebe and Bebop didn't want these comments to stop, which is why they kept giving people what they were asking for, which was hints.
My daughter always wears a full face of makeup and the fanciest clothes to sleep.
Yes, I always go to bed with fancy clothes. Everyone, do you like my fancy dress?
Bebop and Bebe had become the protagonists of TikTok's favorite new mystery, one that blurred the lines between reality and fiction, entertainment and actual real danger. As the intrigue around Bebop and Bebe deepened, several major theories emerged to explain this strange situation. It wasn't enough for internet detectives to simply suspect something's wrong. They wanted a solid narrative. Over time, Reddit threads, TikTok compilations, YouTube exposés, and Twitter posts all blended into a few dominant conspiracy theories. Some of these theories are unhinged and might even sound like absolute nonsense, but others actually make a lot of sense and make you question everything you know about Bebe and Bebop. The interesting part is, people have spent days going through each one of Bebe and Bebop's videos, looking for hints and danger, and after that, they formed these conspiracy theories, so it's quite possible that there's some merit in these. One of the earliest and loudest theories was that Bebop, the girl, and her mother Bebe were being held against their will by an unknown captor, possibly as part of a human trafficking ring. Supporters of this theory imagined a sinister figure behind the camera, perhaps a relative or a dangerous criminal, forcing the pair to create TikToks to earn money while they remained trapped in one room. The repetitive setting of their videos, always that same decorated bedroom, was seen as evidence that they never had freedom of movement. They were supposedly monitored 24/7, allowed only to perform online. The toothbrush through the door video is held up as proof that they were locked in and only given supplies through a slot. Some even pointed to a heavy padlock visible on the bedroom door in certain shots, claiming it locks from the outside. The others argued it was just a normal lock and the entire room was likely a set. But the internet detectives didn't stop there. They dug deeper into Bebe's identity and actually found a guy who could be responsible for putting Bebe and Bebop in danger. The culprit, who's often named, is the mother's brother, essentially Bebop's uncle. TikTok user comments and Reddit discussions took the idea of an off-screen male controller and gave him an identity, a relative in the family. Rumors swirled that Uncle is behind the camera and that he might be the one who kidnapped his sister, Bebe, and her daughter to exploit them. This made a lot of sense, because the mother-daughter duo were getting millions of views on each one of their videos, but their lifestyle didn't seem to improve. They didn't buy any branded stuff, and didn't even renovate their house or anything. So all the money they'd probably be getting was not going to them, but to someone who was controlling them all along, or at least that's what everyone on TikTok believed. This was fueled by occasional deep male voices heard in the background of some live streams, or a fleeting reflection in a doorknob that some thought showed a man's figure. No concrete evidence ever confirmed an uncle's involvement, but that didn't stop the internet from speculating about a mysterious Uncle Herman as the shadowy puppet master of the account. So basically, this theory cast Bebop and Bebe as helpless victims, a mother and daughter being coerced by a trafficker to produce content. The presumed motive was possibly the captor making money off their TikTok through gifts on live streams or sponsorships, or simply getting twisted kicks out of the charade.
Bebop and Bebe are not who you think they are. These TikTokers have gone viral since last year because people think that they're kidnapped. Each and every single one of their videos are spammed with comments telling them to wear a specific color to show they're in danger. And a lot of the times they do wear that color. For a long time now, people think that the two of them have been forced to make videos. And Bebop even has an older brother named Peyton who went missing shortly after he revealed that he was being forced to make videos. Bebop is in danger, but the person that she's in danger from has been right in front of you this whole time. I did some digging into Bebe's past and y'all are not gonna believe what I found out. I found her real name and it turns out she's in the court records for the state of Georgia. And she's got a long list of charges. I did some more digging and it turns out that Bebe might have done some photography back in the day. Put the photos of this person in an AI facial recognition website and it's saying that this out model is a match with Bebe. This is important because Bebe's been playing into the whole conspiracy theory about her own daughter being kidnapped. She always puts a bruise filter on her face so people are worried about her. She's put things like handcuffs in the background, ignore the comments, and so much more. This is such a gross way to get money and it's time it ends. I dropped a video going into the truth and this will change everything.
Comments along these lines often read, "Someone called the FBI, this looks like a human trafficking situation." Now it might seem like people were reading between the lines a little too much and this wasn't as deep as people made it out to be. But still there were major red flags that no one could just ignore. In fact, as people dug deeper, a lot of the things started making more sense. It's worth noting that TikTok had seen fake trafficking scares before. The case of Marina Joyce, a British YouTuber whose odd behavior led millions to wrongly assume she was kidnapped in 2016, was a well-known detective story gone wrong. And yet the Bebop and Bebe kidnapping theory gained huge traction. Videos compiling the evidence of this theory garnered tens of millions of views on TikTok alone. To believers, Bebop and Bebe's cheerful demeanor was possibly Stockholm Syndrome, or forced acting under distress. There's also this theory where people claim that Bebop is way older than she's pretending to be. The theory suggests that she's not a child and an adult, but she just has to act this way because the mysterious male figure wants her to be a kid. People also think that this hidden man is planning on turning Bebop into an OF model, which is why he's making her do those elaborate costume changes and cosplays. Skeptics, however, pointed out that if nearly 5 million people were actively watching this account for signs of foul play, any genuine criminal operation would have likely been identified and stopped by now. So the question still remains, were we witnessing a crime in real time, or an elaborate ruse feeding off people's morbid imaginations? Now there's this next theory, which actually makes much more sense, in which Bebe is forcing Bebop to do all these things. And to be honest, this was what everyone else thought in the beginning too. In stark contrast to the helpless victims narrative, another theory painted Bebe as the mastermind, not a victim, but a villain. According to this theory, no external trafficker was needed. The mother herself was allegedly exploiting her daughter, fabricating the illusion of danger to gain fame and money. Because if they were in any real danger, the mother could have at least called for help once, since they were so active on TikTok Live. But it seemed like the mother was actually enjoying the fame she was getting, all thanks to these conspiracy theories.
Why is only half of the room painted? Surely it's a set. If she really lived in this room, it wouldn't be half decorated.
Those who supported this theory noted that Bebe always seems healthy, upbeat, and in control on camera, hardly the demeanor of someone being held captive. Instead, these theorists suggested that Bebe might be intentionally planting clues, like those color-coded outfits and hand signals, to stoke the mystery and keep viewers hooked. It also seemed like Bebe was more interested in making those TikTok videos than Bebop. In all of those videos, she actually seemed happy, which in itself is a huge red flag, as Bebop hardly ever looked happy or even healthy. Also, in all of the TikToks, Bebe was the one taking the lead, while Bebop was only following her. And day after day, Bebop also stopped looking like a child and started dressing more like an adult. Now, people blame all this on the mother, since she was around Bebop all the time. This actually brings us to another huge debate. Why is this woman around her daughter the entire day in one room? Like, she never really left her alone and was present in every single one of Bebop's videos, which raised a lot of eyebrows.
If you don't know who they are, essentially people are thinking that they're like being forced to make TikToks. So of course I wanted to see what everybody was talking about. So the first thing I noticed when watching these TikToks was the bottom of that door. There's always something covering the bottom of that door. And when something's not covering it, there's this random electrical cord. There it is again. But when you watch some of these videos, you can literally tell that it's like a thin black thing that's like at the foot of the door.
But a lot of the people actually thought this was all a huge act, and the two were only making a fool out of everyone watching. In other words, the mother and daughter act might secretly be a marketing scheme, cynically playing into true crime fans' expectations to boost their views. Each time fans commented, "Wear pink if you need help," and then the duo did wear pink, the video's engagement spiked, leading to more followers and media attention. What if, these skeptics argued, Bebe knew exactly what she was doing? And she definitely knew what she was doing, because her conspiracy-filled videos have way more views than her normal ones. So it's possible that somewhere along the way, she realized what was working for her and then stuck to it because she was obviously getting millions of views. This theory also overlaps with a more straightforward concern: child exploitation for internet clout. Even absent the fake kidnapping angle, many viewers were uncomfortable with how Bebop was being presented. She was dressed like a princess or pop star, made up with heavy cosmetics, and performed almost daily on a public platform, all at a very young age, estimated to be around 8 or 9 in recent years. And there were some very nasty comments on some of those videos too. But the mother didn't seem to care about it and kept bringing her daughter on the internet every single day. It almost felt like she was using her daughter because no one would see her content if she was making these videos alone.
Here, it's 2 different colors. There's the guitar, and there was the thing that was up on the wall. Here's another one. Obviously, you can see the guitar.
She gained all this popularity and followers because she was posting videos with her underage kid who seemed to be in danger in the first place. Some clips even showed the little girl in slightly provocatively styled outfits. Nothing explicit, but enough to cause a stir about attracting predatory audiences. Critics accused the mother, Bebe, of sexualizing her daughter to gain more followers, calling it an updated form of the child beauty pageant syndrome. Some of those outfit choices were actually disgusting. And it's okay if the child is wearing them without realizing what they mean. But to think that an adult is beside them all along and is still allowing their daughter to entertain that kind of audience? It actually sounds pretty disturbing and borderline creepy. People also theorized that Bebe read the comments about kidnapping and deliberately chose not to deny them because the mystery was beneficial.
That's in this door. But then I started zooming in, and this is kind of when it got creepy, is it looks like a man's face. Like, this looks like a camera, this looks like a man's face.
Rather than clarify, "Hey guys, we're fine and just doing skits," the mother stayed silent and let the rumors run rampant, reaping the reward in the form of viral fame. "This mother's doing all this for publicity," people on the internet kept writing. But it didn't matter much, because she was still getting millions of views. Some TikTok users directly addressed the mom. "Diane, stop exploiting your daughter for views and traumatizing her. It's been years. Give it up." Referencing the name Diane, which had leaked online.
I'm unstoppable. Give me that.
No, my eyes.
Mocha chocolata, yeah.
These users were sure that Bebe was using her daughter for clout, and the girl herself isn't into internet fame. They also pointed out that even if Bebop wants to make such videos, at least her mother should know better and shift her focus towards studies. But her mom was apparently busy enjoying that fame a little too much that she actually didn't pay much attention to actually parenting her daughter. If this theory were true, it'd make Bebop and Bebe what one article called "Thaw crime creators, intentionally faking a kidnapping situation to garner sympathy and eyeballs." Some observers drew parallels to famous cases like Kate Yupp, a YouTuber who pretended to be in distress while eating massive amounts of food, or other creators who have toyed with audiences via augmented reality games and pretend crimes. It should also be noted that no injuries or bruises have been spotted on camera on either Bebe or Bebop. They seem to be doing pretty well, other than just looking distressed and dropping subtle hints about being in danger. But there's a high possibility that the mother is doing it just because it gets them views. It's not very far-fetched, and not something people are doing for the first time.
I'm gonna tell you, it's my birthday! Ta-da! No, can't be. I distinctly remember. Your birthday was last year.
The incentive is clear. Controversy means attention, and attention can be monetized. Indeed, if Bebe was orchestrating this, it worked to an extent. By 2023, Bebop had been featured in Rolling Stone magazine and other outlets precisely because of the conspiracy buzz. The duo was earning money from TikTok's creator fund, live gifts, merchandise, and even releasing music. The dramatic "will they be saved" narrative might have been their special sauce to stand out among millions of other family vloggers. It's a cynical view, to be sure, essentially accusing a mother of emotionally manipulating her child and deceiving millions for fame. But plenty on Reddit and TikTok found this more plausible than the idea of an unknown kidnapper. In their eyes, Bebe was both director and producer of a viral hoax, with poor little Bebop as the unwitting star. But in all of these theories, Bebop is the one getting manipulated while someone uses or manipulates her. And shockingly, still no authorities were alarmed by this whole thing, despite the fact that it looked a little too close to human trafficking.
An undeniable target audience of children her age.
Put a finger down.
Also, that people kept commenting and mentioning the cops and FBI, pointing out the red flags, but no one bothered to respond or clear the air. But this is only the beginning, because there's another theory that's even more interesting. Perhaps the most jaw-dropping theory to emerge was that Bebop and Bebe might literally be two missing people listed in real FBI databases. Internet detectives began comparing photos and details and hypothesized that the TikTok duo were in fact a mother named Catherine and her daughter Ava who vanished from Texas years ago. This theory is often referred to as the Ava Baldwin theory, Ava Grace Baldwin being the name of a little girl who was abducted by her non-custodial mother in 2015.
Does this photo of this little girl look familiar to you? Her name is Ava Baldwin and she was abducted on September 17, 2015 by her mother, Catherine Baldwin. Catherine was going through a custody battle with Ava's father, David, who by the way was going to get full custody of Ava until Catherine disappeared with her. David hasn't given up hope and is still actively searching for his daughter, who is 11 years old now. If you have any information about Ava's whereabouts, please contact authorities immediately.
Ava was 6 years old when she went missing from San Antonio, Texas, along with her mother, Catherine Ann Baldwin. The case had gone cold, with the father desperately searching for Ava and a felony warrant out for Catherine's arrest. In 2022, some TikTok and YouTube users noted eerie similarities. Bebop and the TikTok girl had a similar face shape and eye color to age-progressed images of missing Ava Baldwin, and Bebe's somewhat resembled the photos of the fugitive mom, Catherine Baldwin, although with changed hair color and style. Could it be, they wondered, that Catherine had evaded authorities, changed her identity, and was now parading her kidnapped daughter on TikTok under our noses?
You gotta put your tooth up like that so I can see the tooth. Put your lips up. There you go. Come on.
Are you gonna take it out and then...
But it sounds a little too far-fetched, considering if this were really the case, the authorities would have also reacted. But if Bebe and Bebop were real fugitives, they wouldn't be posting videos online for millions of people to see their real faces. And there's no way Ava's father didn't see these videos, so he would have immediately gone to the police if they were actually the real Ava and Catherine. But people still chose to believe in this theory, probably because it's way more mysterious and almost dramatic. This theory gained so much traction that a true crime YouTuber from Austria, Patrick K., devoted months to investigating it. Patrick pieced together dozens of clues from the internet, matching birthmarks, hometown hints, possible aliases. He was convinced that Bebop and Bebe were Ava and Catherine Baldwin. The timing matched Ava would be around the same age as Bebop, if a bit older, and even the behavior matched a mother on the run might hide in plain sight online, using wigs and makeup on her child to alter appearance.
Put a finger down if you have. Stretchy banana, squishy, poppet, Rubik's Cube, emoji, mini poppet, puzzle ball, marble mash, snapper, simple dimple.
After compiling his evidence in multiple videos, Patrick took the bold step of contacting the San Antonio Police Department about his findings, and even reached out to Ava Baldwin's extended family. For a brief moment, it seemed like the internet might crack a real missing persons case thanks to TikTok. Everyone was so sure they had cracked the case. They were celebrating that finally an innocent girl would be saved, all thanks to TikTok. However, reality poured cold water on this theory. In a public Facebook post, Ava's aunt acknowledged that yes, Bebop, the girl on TikTok, did have a resemblance to her missing niece, but crucially, the aunt did not believe they were the same person because the age and timeline didn't align. Bebop appears significantly younger than Ava Baldwin would be. Ava would be a young teenager by the early 2020s, whereas Bebop on TikTok still looked and behaved like an elementary school-aged kid. Indeed, most observers estimate Bebop's age to be around 9 or 10 in 2023. This cast serious doubts that she was the 14-year-old Ava Baldwin in disguise. Law enforcement also did not find sufficient evidence to act on this TikTok theory. There was no smoking gun proof, only conjecture. As tempting as the idea was, the Ava Catherine theory remained unconfirmed and, in the eyes of officials, likely unfounded. To this day, Ava Grace Baldwin is still missing, and her mother Catherine is still wanted by the authorities. But there's no indication that Bebop and Bebe are secretly them. Although a lot of people think that Bebe makes Bebop wear those elaborate gowns and makeup just to make her look less like Ava. It almost feels like we've never really seen their real face, and there has to be some solid reason behind it. Patrick, the investigator, is still pretty sure that Bebop is Ava, and she's now being used by her mother. He continues to share awareness online on the matter, while a lot of the conspiracy theorists have moved on. And this isn't the only theory that's surfaced online in recent years. There's another missing persons theory that connects Bebe and Bebop to another controversial case.
Even though Bebop is a little girl of 8 or 10 years old, she wears heavy makeup, unique costumes, and in one of her TikToks, she can be seen wearing a leash.
This my little pumpkin friend, he likes to go on walks. He does almost everything, but he just...
Not long after the Ava Baldwin speculation, another real-world case got tied into the narrative. Aranza Maria Ochoa Lopez, a 4-year-old girl, was abducted by her biological mother from Washington State in 2018 and was missing for years. Because Aranza's mother had a somewhat similar look to Bebe, blonde hair, etc., and the timeline meant Aranza would have been around 8 in 2022, close to Bebop's perceived age, some theorists proposed that maybe Bebop and Bebe were actually Aranza and her mother Esmeralda. Online forums repeated this possibility, spinning stories that Esmeralda, the mom, fled with Aranza and possibly started this TikTok as a front. People kept speculating this, finding similarities between the two cases, and some were pretty sure that Bebop is actually Aranza. However, this theory was debunked in early 2023 when, in a rare happy ending, Aranza Lopez was found alive in Mexico and safely returned to the US. Obviously, she was not the TikTok girl, which should have put that theory to rest. It did illustrate, though, how many prominent missing child cases were getting cross-referenced with Bebop and Bebe by the online detective community. At one point, if a girl was missing in Phoenix, someone would suggest maybe it's Bebop, and the speculation really ran wild. But it also drew more attention to those missing kids, so these speculations had a silver lining after all. Although these were the most popular theories, there were plenty of offshoots and one-off rumors floating around that Bebe might not actually be the girl's mother at all, perhaps a captor posing as a mom, or even some kind of paid actress hired to play a role. This theory also suggested that Bebop was being made to perform for dark web customers who enjoyed the aesthetic of a dolled-up child. Another horrifying but entirely speculative scenario was that Bebop wasn't actually a child at all, but maybe a young-looking adult actress playing a child character, which speaks to how surreal and confusing the content could appear. These speculations kept getting wilder, some suggesting that Bebop didn't look like her mother at all, and in the videos, she doesn't seem very close to her either, so it's very possible that she's not Bebe's real kid, and Bebe's only taking care of her and is getting paid for it. The adult actress claims were even wilder, because Bebop looked like an actual child, while the people kept claiming she's not a child and she's only cosplaying to get more people to be her OF customers. One fringe theory noted that Bebop's stage name Bardot sounds like Bardo, a Buddhist term for limbo between life and death, and went off on a tangent about occult symbols in their videos, a testament to the fact that once a conspiracy train leaves the station, it can go anywhere. Importantly, none of these extreme theories have ever been proven true. They remain part of the bizarre story surrounding Bebop and Bebe. But, taken together, they transformed a simple TikTok page into a full-blown internet mystery, the kind usually reserved for Reddit unsolved crime boards or YouTube deep dives. And indeed, those came in droves. As theories about Bebop and Bebe got wilder and more famous, legions of self-appointed internet detectives got to work. TikTok itself was ground zero. Countless accounts popped up solely to post evidence compilations, analyzing each video with captions like, "Did you see the man in the mirror at 0.13? Or she's using the abuse hand signal here, look closely."
I am no fan of people who want to get clout on social media by pretending that there is something wrong, like they're being held hostage or they've been kidnapped or something absolutely terrible is happening that isn't actually happening. They just want traction, they just want clout.
One hobby detective would find a new clue, and a dozen others would stitch the video to add their own commentary. These short investigative clips often themselves went viral, one TikTok exposing the supposed door lock in their room, which got millions of views. The effect was a bit like crowdsourcing a puzzle. Thousands of strangers combining observations to solve the case of Bebop and Bebe. Over on YouTube, longer-form documentaries and conspiracy breakdowns appeared, some racking up hundreds of thousands of views. Creators with names like Uncle Herman, a YouTuber who did a dark conspiracy video, and others jumped on the trend. By reacting to or recounting the story, they too gained content fodder, and it became a genre of true crime commentary unto itself. This entire thing was snowballing into something way bigger than it actually was, mainly because TikTok conspiracy theorists and YouTubers were also making insane money off of it. They were earning thousands of dollars on one video, so they obviously didn't want the speculations to slow down at all. On Reddit, discussion threads dissecting Bebop and Bebe garnered hundreds of comments. The subreddit saw posts titled, "Bebop and Bebe Rabbit Hole, I'm so confused," where users tried to summarize all the info in one place. There was even a dedicated subreddit created for the sole purpose of tracking this entire story. Within these forums, some members took very concrete steps, contacting authorities. Multiple people reported that they had contacted local police in Georgia where Bebop and Bebe were believed to reside to request a welfare check. Others said they submitted tips about the possible missing persons connection to the FBI and National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. With so many viewers genuinely frightened for the child's safety, law enforcement did receive a number of inquiries. One Reddit user lamented that a woman named Bonnie, a vocal skeptic who insisted the duo was fine, had received violent death threats from overzealous believers, and even had someone show up at her door to harass her for defending Bebop and Bebe's account. So it started as an innocent show of support for the mother-daughter duo, was quickly turning into a movement which was threatening others' lives. Anyone who claimed that their content was okay and there was nothing to be suspicious about got so much backlash and threats that they had to apologize. It was pretty clear that people were hell-bent on turning it into something bigger than it actually was. They wanted to see Bebop being in danger and wanted to be proven right, because otherwise they would have listened when people on the internet told them this was normal behavior.
Stop! That's monstrous!
This filthy thing?
She was gonna wear that tonight and you ruined it.
Honey, it was ruined when she bought it. Yeah.
It was as if an internet vigilante mob had formed, split between those trying to save Bebop and those urging everyone to calm down and stop spreading unverified claims. The debates were heated and often personal. On TikTok, comment wars raged between "they're 100% kidnapped, how can you not see it?" and "y'all are delusional, it's just for clout."
Hey guys, we got mega mashems.
Wow, that's a mega mashem.
We have 3 of them. Let's open them up.
Let's see what's inside.
These are so cool. Squishy, squishy, squishy.
One particularly invested detective was the earlier mentioned Patrick K on YouTube. After compiling his multi-video case equating Bebop and Bebe to missing Ava and Catherine Baldwin, Patrick not only contacted San Antonio police, but also claims to have spoken with a relative of the missing pair. As noted earlier, the aunt of missing Ava did acknowledge a resemblance, but ultimately did not believe the TikTok duo were her sister-in-law and niece. This interaction was telling. It was one of the few times someone directly contacted to a real case weighed in. The aunt's stance calmed some people down. If the family of the missing girl isn't convinced, perhaps the theory was indeed a stretch. However, true believers just shifted to new angles. Some even accused the aunt of lying or being out of the loop. Others started making theories about the aunt being involved in the whole thing. So this was just blowing up way out of proportion because people weren't ready to accept any other outcome than Bebop being in some serious danger. For the most part, official silence persisted. TikTok as a platform did not intervene in any visible way. There was no banning or public statement. Likely TikTok's moderation team did not find concrete evidence of danger, and perhaps they were wary of stepping in without cause. Especially after the Marina Joyce fiasco, where even police found nothing amiss. Local police in Georgia, where Bebop and Bebe operate, have never announced any investigation, though anecdotal claims say wellness checks were requested. It's possible authorities did quietly verify things and found no cause for alarm. But if so, that wasn't communicated widely, leaving the internet mystery machine to keep churning. If the authorities publicly announce what was once happening and clear the air, things wouldn't have probably gotten so out of control. One remarkable outcome of the crowd being nosy was the discovery of tangible personal details about the family. Curious netizens dug up records showing the registration of companies, the LLCs associated with Bebop and Bebe's brand, as we discussed earlier, which listed a man named Donald Ray Evans as the agent, presumably a family member. This suggests the family's last name is Evans. Further, someone found a profile on a pageant website linking a Diane Evans to Bebop Bardot, confirming that name. It turned out the mother had been openly entering her daughter in regional pageants and even doing meet and greets. In one TikTok post, they advertised a fan meetup at an Atlanta event, which is hardly what you do if you were trying to hide from the public eye.
Hello, this is Bebop. From April 17th to the 20th, the World Korean Business Convention will be held at Gas South in Atlanta. 450 Korean companies are participating to introduce their businesses and share their products through sampling opportunities. I, Bebop, have also been invited to perform at the event. I hope many of you will attend. Enjoy Korean culture and support the success of Korean businesses in the U.S. My performance will take place on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. After the performance, there also will be a fan meeting. So I hope many of you will come and see me. Please come and be a part of my first official appearance.
These kinds of findings strongly indicated that Bebop and Bebe were, in real life, just a normal family in Georgia trying to build an entertainment career, not missing persons or trafficking victims. But interestingly, when detectives shared these findings online, some conspiracy devotees accused them of lying or being plants meant to throw others off the truth. At a certain point, the Bebop and Bebe mystery took on a life of its own, immune to facts. It became a kind of participatory internet folklore, where people almost wanted the most scandalous scenario to be real. They also exposed the real names of the mother and daughter, which was a huge threat to their safety. So let's say they are a normal mother-daughter duo. All these speculations are just rumors. This would mean that the internet has exposed their identities, putting their safety at risk to the point that they can't even walk in public.
Bebop is getting her nails done today.
I'm just too impressed with my Freddy Fazbear.
Why is player 333 here?
'Cause he's so Sigma.
What time is it?
Bang Chan time.
Bebop is getting a stylish set of nails, but I think I got her beat. I'm gonna get Squid Game's nails.
I'm gonna get Bang Channels. Wolf Gang! Wolf Gang!
The design that we are copying has more of a gray color, but I talked Bebop into having a more bright blue.
These are starting to look Sigma.
After all the mess and conspiracies, a clearer picture of Bebop and Bebe's real identities and situation does emerge, though not from any official revelation, rather from piecing together various pieces of evidence. So let me give you a little information of who these people really are based on the evidence people have found online. They are a real mother and daughter from Georgia. The mother, likely named Diane Evans, appears to be in her 30s or 40s. The daughter's name is Bebop, and she's estimated around 9 to 10 years old, although she doesn't look that young in some of the recent videos with heavy makeup and costumes. They reside in or near the Atlanta, Georgia area, given their public appearances at local events. They're not hiding in some bunker. They've been seen at Suwanee Town Center performing at a festival, for example, and participating in public pageants. Also, Bebop is a stage persona for the child, whose real name has not been officially published. Even Rolling Stone specifically denied to print it due to her minor status. So not a lot of people know the real information behind Bebop. Well, there's a lot to read regarding Bebe, who's really not trying to hide who she is. The surname Evans comes up via the LLC registrations, implying that it's their family name. The use of Bardot as part of Bebop's branding might be an attempt to sound cute or to keep some privacy. The mom is referred to as Bebe online, but that's likely just a nickname, meaning baby or a riff on Bebop. It could be that Bebop is actually the child's nickname and Bebe is mom's, which is a bit counterintuitive, but the two names are somewhat interchangeable as a brand. For clarity, many fans just call them Bebe as a pair, or refer to the girl as Bebop and the mom as Bebe. There's also an older brother involved. In some older YouTube descriptions and conspiracy TikToks, a brother named Peyton is mentioned or makes a cameo. This is presumably the son of the mother, and either an older sibling or half-sibling of Bebop. Peyton appeared in a few videos and was acknowledged as the brother guest starring.
We're doing a challenge today.
We have a Cutitos Frutitos challenge. All right, so go ahead and bring it out.
However, keen observers noted that in late 2022, Peyton's presence vanished abruptly. Around the same time, screenshots circulated purporting to show a DM exchange with Peyton, in which he allegedly confided to a fan that he and his sister were being forced to make content by their mother. In the screenshot, which is still not verified, Peyton says he can't talk much, but that things aren't as they seem, and he is made to participate. This was explosive. If true, it was an inside confirmation of the exploitation theory.
I'm worried that there is something wrong, that there is something that's genuinely happening, and I'm also worried that this is just another case of TikTokers, and I'm not blaming the child at all because, you know, this is like a 7-8-year-old kid.
Shortly after, Peyton's social media accounts were reportedly deleted or set to private, and he no longer showed up in the Bebop and Bebe content. This led to whispers that perhaps the brother had tried to speak out and was silenced, or conversely that the DM was fake, and the family removed Peyton from the limelight to protect him from the drama.
Today.
We have a Cutitos Frutitos challenge. All right, so go ahead and bring it out and show them what is in the challenge box.
I love these green things. I like to play with them.
All right, we have a sign.
To add more intrigue, in early 2023, a 14-year-old boy named Peyton from Georgia was reported missing on local news, prompting speculation it was the same Peyton if he had run away. That case, however, may have been unrelated. Details are scarce, and it's unconfirmed if it was the same family. Regardless, the brother angle remains murky. He's a piece of the story that could either substantiate the darker claims or simply illustrate how destructive the public scrutiny became for the family dynamic. We do know Peyton exists. We don't know why he disappeared from public view, whether out of genuine fear or just to avoid further fueling conspiracies. But one thing that raises a lot of eyebrows is that Bebe didn't talk about Peyton either. There was a storm of speculations online, and she still doesn't seem to care.
It's time to pull a prank. My mom accidentally bought a lip plumper.
Let's try it on my sister.
Let's go. Time for a mommy makeover.
I'm not your mommy.
But you are a mom.
I guess that's true.
If you didn't know, this is my Aunt Jennifer.
I don't ever do skin prep.
Your lips will be super hydrated. Okay, there you go.
I think I'm allergic to this stuff. It's burning.
Here,
give me a wipe. Hey! Give it back.
No!
What are you doing? What is your problem? What's wrong?
That stuff hurts.
That's actually a lip blooper. It's pepper. If you leave it on, it'll give you really big lips.
You're a monster.
So people started talking about how Bebe was not a good mother apparently, and how both of her kids have been involved in so many conspiracy theories and she has still not clarified any of it. Also, the set is likely just their home or room decorated for filming. People who followed the account from early on noted that Bebop and Bebe used to film in different areas, not always that single decorated room. In fact, older posts on the app, Likey, where they allegedly first gained popularity, show them outdoors or in other parts of a house. Once they focused on TikTok, they seemingly standardized their filming location to one room for consistent aesthetics. That room does have whimsical decor, butterfly decals, stuffed toys, etc., likely as a deliberate ambiance for their show. Some have pointed out that what happens to be a window with blinds in the background is sometimes covered or even removed, suggesting it might be a fake window on a set. It's possible they set up a small home studio. But none of that definitively implies a dungeon or captivity. It could simply be creative choices. The padlock spotted on the door was debunked by some who showed that it's a common child safety lock, or part of the set, not an iron prison lock.
Ella es mi Julieta y sin dudar. Su comida cura todo mal. Sus besos son remedios de verdad. Esperen para impresionarse más. Así es la...
Essentially, the environment likely looks stranger than it is due to creative decisions and internet distortion. And it could also mean that the mother-daughter duo know what they're doing by creating more speculations around their online presence by only shooting in one room and not addressing the padlock thing. However, no credible evidence of abuse or harm has surfaced. By late 2022, mainstream media journalists and even law enforcement had their eyes on this situation. If Bebop and Bebe were truly in immediate danger, one would expect by now a police raid or at least a public investigation. That hasn't happened. In fact, Rolling Stone's feature on them explicitly called the conspiracy theories baseless and grouped the case with other instances of TikTok misinformation frenzy. To date, neither the FBI nor any child protective services have substantiated claims of abuse in the Bebop and Bebe household. While absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, the sheer volume of scrutiny suggests if there were a real crime, it likely would have been cracked by now. Instead, what seems to be the truth is more cringe than you would have thought. Bebop and Bebe are engaged in a form of online roleplay, perhaps not initially to trick people, but once the narrative took hold, they rode the wave. They saw that they were getting millions of views on videos that were flooded with conspiracy theories, so they went along with it too. It's not their fault that people are so desperate to prove that Bebop is in danger. They've also leveraged the controversy in a pretty effective way. The family's link tree is quite telling. It includes links to a Rolling Stone article about them, a Skeptical Explainer article debunking the kidnapping claims, and then links to charities for domestic violence, missing children, and human trafficking. This almost tongue-in-cheek curation of links says, "So you think we're in trouble? Here are some resources. But also here's Rolling Stone confirming we're likely not." It's a bit meta. They also list their merchandise and songs, showing that they are indeed monetizing the fame they've gained. In late 2023, they released at least 2 original pop songs, "Oh Well" and "Anyone Like You," with Bebop as a credited artist, even noting Bebop Bardot LLC as the composer rights holder. All these moves are consistent with a family building a brand, not a pair on the run or under distress. Given all this, the most plausible reality is that Bebop and Bebe are performers. The mother, Diane, is a momager who is navigating her daughter's early rise to fame. Their content blurred the lines between genuine and scripted just enough to spark a wildfire of fan conspiracy, which they then did little to extinguish because it kept them famous. It is a strange symbiosis. They feed the intrigue subtly, and the intrigue feeds them back with views and opportunities. One could say the internet collectively created a horror story where there was none, or conversely, that the family allowed a narrative to spiral out of control at the expense of their own reputation, all for engagement. The Bebop and Bebe story raises some uncomfortable questions about the nature of internet fame and parental responsibility. Even if we conclude there was no literal kidnapping, many observers remain disturbed by aspects of what's actually happening. Is it healthy for a young child to be a daily social media performer under intense scrutiny?
Informing me that there was a comment left on one of Bebop's TikToks stating yellow heart for kidnapped, green heart for being groomed, and blue heart for both being kidnapped. The very next video, these two are both wearing blue. Like, her mum is wearing a darker blue garment while the kid is wearing a light blue dress. That to me just is no kind of coincidence. And I specifically say this because on the very same video, there is someone who says, "Are you okay if being hurt dress up?"
Bebop has, in effect, grown up in front of the ring light, wearing wigs and lashes, reading thousands of comments, some of which surely contain frightening or inappropriate messages. The situation caused mass hysteria that undoubtedly would be confusing and scary for a kid if she's aware of it. Imagine being 8 years old and seeing commenters constantly thinking you're kidnapped. That could be traumatic in its own way. This leads some to argue that even if no crime occurred, Bebop is a victim in a different sense, perhaps a victim of her mother's ambition, or of the internet's savior complex. The dramatic conspiracies, while false, shone a light on the very real issue of children and social media. Bebop's videos often drew the attention of not just concerned citizens, but also potential creeps, a fact underscored by the overly mature styling. Critics have called Bebe's parenting into question. Was she effectively pimping out her daughter's image, even if not in a sexual way, in an attention-seeking way? The mother has never directly addressed these criticisms, but her defenders argue that Bebop genuinely enjoys performing. She's a kid who likes to dress up and sing, and they're just doing positive content together. Another point of contention has been the hate and harassment that spilled out due to the conspiracies. Other family vloggers and TikTok moms felt the ripple effect, as audiences became more suspicious of staged content. Meanwhile, Bebop and Bebe's family, including possibly extended family, reportedly received threats from people who earnestly believed something evil was happening behind the scenes. This highlights a phenomenon where internet detectives, in their excitement to protect, can actually become the abusers, slinging death threats at a mom based on a hunch, or potentially traumatizing a child by telling her she's in danger when she isn't. It's a dark flip side to this savior complex that took hold of some fan communities. Throughout all this, Bebop and Bebe continued pumping out their regular programming. It almost became surreal. In one corner of the internet, people were discussing police jurisdiction and missing person flyers. In another, Bebop and her mom were posting a silly TikTok dance to the latest trending sound, as if they had no idea about the things people are saying about them. They never broke character to say we are fine, except in one dubious instance. At one point, an exclusive interview was teased on a third-party site, claiming Bebop and Bebe would explain everything. Fans quickly labeled it a scam and it vanished. For the most part, they have let the content speak for itself. In some recent videos, they even play-acted skits referencing the conspiracies. One TikTok showed them jokingly calling grandma for help as a wink to the audience aware of the rumors. This kind of self-aware humor indicates that they are not only aware of the gossip, but also unbothered enough to joke about it. As the Bebop and Bebe story gained mainstream attention, established media outlets and commenters stepped in to separate fact from fiction. Rolling Stone, in an article about the duo, contextualized the uproar as part of the larger trend of baseless conspiracy theories overtaking TikTok, lumping it with other viral misinformation. They pointed out that TikTok's algorithmic design can rapidly amplify unfounded claims, especially ones with a true crime flavor that people find irresistible. The Rolling Stone piece, while acknowledging the weirdness of the content, leaned on the side of skepticism toward the kidnapping narrative, essentially advising that sometimes TikTok is just TikTok, not a true crime saga. OMR, or Online Marketing Rockstars, published a detailed investigation in September 2022 that went even further, implying that Bebop and Bebe might be intentionally faking being in danger to boost their reach. OMR cited how each time fans thought they found a clue, those clips would get replayed and shared millions of times, fueling the account's growth. They explicitly called Bebop and Bebe's case a speculation factory and drew parallels to the Marina Joyce incident and other hoaxes. Importantly, no credible journalist or outlet that looked into the situation found evidence of actual foul play. If anything, the consensus became that this was a kind of mass delusion meets possibly manufactured drama. An editor's note in one piece mentioned that, due to the child's minor status, they weren't publishing her real name or the mother's, implying they discovered those details but chose to withhold them. This further suggests they identified the family and presumably didn't find they were missing persons or crime victims. In essence, the professional media narrative shifted towards, "Calm down, internet, you've likely been played or at least mistaken." However, the media also acknowledged the strangeness and lack of transparency that gave rise to all this. It's not as if everyone who watched Bebop and Bebe was crazy to be concerned. There were plenty of oddly suggestive moments in their content. This story became a cautionary tale about the fine line between online entertainment and reality. Even new viewers who now stumble upon Bebop and Bebe often comment, "I heard about these two on YouTube, but isn't there something creepy going on?" The aura of mystery has not completely disappeared. Instead, it's turned into a kind of branding. People follow the account because it's infamous, either to see if anything develops or just be part of the conversation. For TikTok as a platform, the Bebop and Bebe saga was one of the few high-profile incidents, alongside things like the Couch Guy viral detective case or various TikTok cult rumors that highlighted how the app can drive collective investigations for better or worse. TikTok even updated some community guidelines to curb the spread of misleading information and protect minors, though the effect on cases like this is debatable. As of 2025, Bebop and Bebe are still active on TikTok and other platforms. The furor has died down a bit compared to the peak in 2022, but a core fan base as well as a core skeptic base remains. Their recent posts focus on what they always have: skits, dances, positive messages, and promoting Bebop's budding music career. In a way, they've outlasted the conspiracy cycle and emerged on the other side, still leveraging the fame it brought. Bebop has released music videos and maintains an Instagram showcasing her costumes and daily life, which appears normal and happy. Bebe, the mom, sometimes posts behind-the-scenes glimpses, but notably, never anything that would clearly identify personal info like school, location, etc., likely to maintain some privacy and separation from the intense scrutiny. The family's LLC, Bebop and Bebe LLC, was dissolved in late 2023. Perhaps they folded it into the primary Bebop and Bardot LLC, or restructured as the entertainment ventures evolved. This could simply be routine business housekeeping. But of course, some conspiracists tried to read into it. Why did they dissolve the company? What are they hiding now? It seems there will always be a fraction of observers who suspect something fishy, no matter what evidence to the contrary emerges. Interestingly, Bebop and Bebe have started to lean into more lighthearted, self-referential content about their journey. In one recent TikTok skit, Bebop plays a detective investigating her own mom, a clear parody of all the internet detectives who've tried to expose them. The caption winked at the audience with a line like, "When the rumors go too far." They've essentially made their own saga part of the entertainment. This kind of playful acknowledgement has been welcomed by many fans, as if the duo is finally saying, "We hear you, we know what you thought, and isn't it kind of crazy?" It humanizes them and suggests that any animosity or fear might be water under the bridge. That said, not everyone is ready to laugh it off. There are still ongoing discussions about the ethics of what transpired. If the mother did indeed allow millions to think her child was in danger without clarification, was that a form of emotional manipulation of the audience? Did it waste valuable police resources due to false reports? Some feel there should be accountability, even calls for TikTok to ban or shadow ban accounts that spark such panic. On the other hand, supporters argue that Bebop and Bebe didn't actually do anything wrong. They never explicitly claimed to be kidnapped. Those narratives were external. Why should they be punished for viewers' overactive imaginations? After all, TikTok is a platform full of role-play and fiction. Viewers often blur those lines themselves. It's a gray area with no clear precedent. The story of Bebop and Bebe is ultimately a product of our social media age, of what started as fun videos, jokes, and a few harmless comments turned into something that was dangerous and life-threatening for Bebe. What began as a mother and daughter making playful videos snowballed into an internet-wide detective hunt, a living creepypasta story that people earnestly believed. In the end, The bizarre and shocking moments, almost all orchestrated or imagined, might say more about us as consumers of content than about Bebop and Bebe themselves. We live in a time where a 5-second gesture on a TikTok live can ignite an international conspiracy theory, where viewers are simultaneously the audience and the investigators, and where the line between entertainment and reality can be so blurred that even the participants get lost in it. For Bebop and Bebe, the timeline has been divisive indeed. They've been idolized, sympathized with, demonized, and scrutinized to an extreme degree. And yet they carry on, mother and daughter, dancing in that same little room, phone camera rolling. Perhaps they feel vindicated that most of the outlandish theories have been debunked. Or perhaps they just chose to ignore the noise and focus on living their lives, their very public lives. They've always maintained their lifestyle and pretended like everything is totally normal, as if to say, look, we're just here having fun. And maybe in the end, that's the truest thing to believe about them. The saga of Bebop and Bebe leaves us with a warning note that not every creepy video hides a dark secret. Sometimes it's just clever lighting and a willing imagination. Also, it reminds us that online fame can invite unintended consequences. Once a narrative takes hold, it's almost impossible to control. The duo at the center of this storm will likely continue to straddle that strange space between rumor and reality. Now, Bebe and Bebop would have to live with this stigma of being the outcasts forever. They can't really prove that they weren't kidnapped or that Bebe wasn't secretly manipulating and using her daughter for fame behind the scenes. The clips, conspiracy theories, police reports, everything will stay on the internet forever. And this is something that people probably didn't think before going to any extent to prove that Bebop was in danger. Now, people wouldn't really let Bebe have a job, and wherever she'd go, she'd be seen like the villain. That's the tragedy of her story, that she can't really prove that she didn't do all this to her daughter. And it's all thanks to the internet detectives, who didn't even think twice before putting all those allegations on her, and making her look like the bad guy, without ever confirming a single thing about the entire story. So do you think Bebop and Bebe are just creating content and having fun, or there's something darker going on behind the scenes? Let me know in the comments.